Have you ever found yourself pondering the vast expanse of existence, only to come to the unsettling conclusion that it's all just meaningless? Like life is a series of events devoid of any purpose or significance. If so, you might have brushed shoulders with nihilism, the philosophical stance that believes in, well, nothing. Nihilism is like the grumpy old uncle of philosophies, sitting in the corner, shaking its head at the world and muttering, "It's all pointless anyway." But let's dive deeper into what exactly nihilism is and why some people find solace, or despair, in its embrace. At its core, nihilism is the belief that life has no inherent meaning or value. It's like looking at the universe through a magnifying glass and realizing that, in the grand scheme of things, we're just tiny specks of dust floating in an infinite void. Sounds bleak, right? Well, that's because it kind of is. Think of it as staring into the abyss and realizing that the abyss is also staring back at you, shrugging its shoulders, and saying, "Hey, who cares?" But where does nihilism come from? Some say it's the offspring of disillusionment and skepticism, born out of a profound sense of dissatisfaction with the world as it is. Others believe it's the natural byproduct of a society that places too much emphasis on material wealth and superficial success. Religion often finds itself on the opposite end of the nihilism spectrum. After all, if you believe in a higher power or divine purpose, it's hard to buy into the whole "life is meaningless" spiel. As the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche famously said, "God is dead," suggesting that as society moves away from religious beliefs, nihilism finds fertile ground to take root. But nihilism isn't just about rejecting religious or spiritual beliefs. It's also about questioning everything we hold dear, from ethics and morals to cultural traditions and societal norms. It's like being the kid who keeps asking, "But why?" until everyone around them throws up their hands in exasperation. On the surface, nihilism might seem like a one-way ticket to Despairville, but some argue that it can also be liberating. After all, if nothing really matters, then you're free to create your own meaning and purpose in life. It's like being handed a blank canvas and a paintbrush and being told, "Go nuts." Of course, not everyone is ready to embrace the void with open arms. For some, the idea that life is meaningless is too much to bear, leading to feelings of anxiety, depression, or existential dread. As the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre put it, man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does. But even in the face of nihilism's bleak outlook, some philosophers argue that there's still room for optimism. Take absurdism, for example, which suggests that while life may be inherently meaningless, we can still find happiness and fulfillment in the absurdity of existence itself. As Albert Camus famously said, "The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart." So where does that leave us? Well, it's up to each of us to decide how we want to navigate the murky waters of nihilism. Maybe you'll find comfort in the idea that nothing really matters in the end, or maybe you'll find meaning in the relationships you build, the experiences you have, or the art you create. As the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." So whether you choose to embrace nihilism or reject it entirely, just remember that the search for meaning is a deeply personal journey, and there's no right or wrong answer. After all, in a world where nothing is certain, the only thing we can truly rely on is our own ability to make sense of it all. But let's delve even further into the depths of nihilism. It's not just about the absence of meaning. It also challenges our notions of ethics and morality. Without a guiding principle or higher authority dictating what's right or wrong, nihilism forces us to confront the unsettling reality that morality might just be a social construct, a set of arbitrary rules we've collectively agreed upon. And what about cultural traditions and beliefs? Nihilism doesn't discriminate. It questions everything, from the rituals we perform to the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and where we come from. It's like pulling back the curtain on the great stage of life and realizing that the actors are just reciting lines from a script they never wrote. But amidst the chaos and uncertainty of nihilism, there's a glimmer of hope. Some argue that by acknowledging the inherent meaninglessness of existence, we're actually freed from the constraints of societal expectations and cultural norms. It's like tearing down the walls of a prison we didn't even realize we were trapped in. Of course, this newfound freedom comes with its own set of challenges. Without a moral compass to guide us, how do we navigate the murky waters of right and wrong? How do we find meaning in a world where everything seems to be up for grabs? The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche had his own take on this dilemma. He believed that in the absence of traditional values, we must embrace what he called the will to power, the drive to create our own values and forge our own path in life. It's like becoming the hero of your own story, writing your own script and deciding how the plot unfolds. But not everyone is ready to embrace this radical form of self-determination. For some, the idea of a world without meaning is simply too terrifying to contemplate. They cling to the comfort of tradition and convention, seeking solace in the familiar rhythms of life. And then there are those who find themselves caught in the middle, torn between the pull of tradition and the allure of freedom. They grapple with the existential angst of nihilism, searching for meaning in a world that seems increasingly devoid of it. But perhaps therein lies the beauty of nihilism, in its ability to challenge us, to push us out of our comfort zones and force us to confront the fundamental questions of existence. As the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre famously said, "Man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does." In the end, nihilism is not just a philosophical concept. It's a lens through which we can view the world and ourselves. It forces us to confront the unsettling truth that life may be inherently meaningless, and yet, in that very meaninglessness, we may find the freedom to create our own meaning. As Friedrich Nietzsche aptly put it, in individuals, insanity is rare, but in groups, parties, nations and epochs, it is the rule. So let us not succumb to the madness of conformity, but instead embrace the chaos of nihilism and forge our own path towards meaning and purpose in this vast and indifferent universe. Thanks for tuning in to explore the wild world of nihilism with us today. As we wrap up this journey through the abyss of meaninglessness, remember this: whether you're embracing the void, forging your own path, or somewhere in between, the search for meaning is a journey we all embark on. So go ahead, question everything, challenge the status quo, and dare to find your own meaning in this chaotic cosmos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and keep seeking the light in the darkness.